Are you ready to use the power of silence to change things? In this video, we look at the words of the famous swordsman Miyamoto Musashi to find out 6 deep ways that silence can change your life. Join us on a journey of self-discovery and personal growth. We'll talk about everything from improving your attention to finding inner peace. Lesson 1. Increase your awareness of yourself. We feel that we are continuously being tugged in numerous directions, making it difficult for us to balance our duties, commitments, and goals, which often comes at the price of our personal well-being. There is, however, a deep reservoir of strength and knowledge that lives in the midst of this chaotic symphony, and that is the presence of stillness. As a result of his knowledge of the transforming power of quiet, Miyamoto Musashi was able to cultivate a deeper understanding of oneself. One of his most famous quotes is, "It takes a lifetime to know yourself." When it comes to education, silence is the most valuable teacher. The core of self-awareness, which is a path of reflection and discovery that takes place over the course of a lifetime, was well summarized by Musashi in these remarks, which were both straightforward and deep. On the other hand, what exactly does it mean to know oneself? Self-awareness may be defined as the capacity to perceive and comprehend our thoughts, emotions, and motives in a straightforward and truthful manner. In other words, it is the courage to address the darkest parts of our mind, to admit both our strengths and shortcomings, and to embrace the whole of our existence without any reservations or judgments. A potent stimulant for this process of self-discovery is silence, which acts as a strong catalyst. When we block out the constant buzz of our brains and make room for quiet, we open the door to the possibility of turning within and listening to the mutterings of our own souls. We have the freedom to explore the depths of our awareness when there are no external distractions to distract us. This allows us to discover hidden truths and insights that we have been unable to discover in the midst of the hustle and bustle of ordinary life. It is important to note that self-awareness is not only a state of introspection, rather it is a dynamic process that involves self-reflection and personal development. Through the process of developing a more profound comprehension of ourselves, we are able to acquire priceless insights about our patterns of behavior, our relationships, as well as our objectives and objectives. As we develop a heightened awareness of the subtle signals that our bodies and thoughts send us, we acquire the ability to discern when we are in harmony with our most fundamental principles and when we have deviated from the chosen path. We are better able to establish limits, make choices, and pursue objectives that are meaningful and gratifying when we have a greater understanding of our own needs, preferences, and limitations. This means that we no longer feel pressured to comply to the expectations of others or the rules of society. Rather, we chart our own route based on the compass that we have inside ourselves. There is nothing outside of yourself that can ever enable you to get better, stronger, richer, quicker, or smarter, Musashi said. There is nothing that can ever enable you to get better for yourself. This is where everything lies. When we are self-aware, we are reminded that the ability to change our life does not lay in the circumstances or belongings that we have gained from the outside world, but rather inside the depths of our own being. After embarking on a path of self-discovery, we eventually come to the conclusion that we are the architects of our own destiny and have the ability to create the life that we want for ourselves. Self-awareness, on the other hand, is not without of difficulties. The willingness to address the aspects of ourselves that we may rather keep buried, along with the strength and humility to do so, are all necessary components. It is necessary for us to accept our fragility and uncertainty, to confess our flaws and errors without feeling ashamed or judging ourselves, and to do so without judging ourselves. On the other hand, it is exactly in these times of suffering that we discover the most significant potential for personal development and change. In the process of embarking on the road of self-awareness, may we be able to recognize and accept the power of Quiet as our companion and guide. I pray that we are able to develop a habit of silence and reflection that will enable us to get a more profound comprehension of both ourselves and the world that surrounds us. It is my hope that we will have the bravery to accept the whole of our being, with the knowledge that it is in the stillness that we discover the wisdom and the strength to know ourselves in a deeper way. Lesson 2. Develop your imagination. Our imagination is often strangled and smothered by the demands of reality in the busy landscape of modernity, where screens flash with continual stimulation and calendars overflow with obligations. In this environment, our imagination does not have the opportunity to flourish. Nevertheless, a sanctuary may be found inside the world of quiet. It is a holy place where the seeds of creation are planted and then cultivated until they reach their full potential. Miyamoto Musashi, a famed warrior, was aware of the fundamental relationship that exists between quiet and creativity. Once upon a time, he made the observation that, in the void, there is virtue and no evil. Wisdom is a thing that exists. Principles are something that exist. The way is something that exists. And spirit is unexistent. These lines are a reiteration of the idea that the possibility for limitless invention may be found inside the void that is silence. Imagine that there is no paint on the canvas. It is a blank canvas that is only waiting to be altered by the touch of a brush. In a similar vein, stillness provides us with a blank canvas onto which we may paint the dynamic tapestry that is our imagination. When there are no distractions from the outside world, our thoughts are free to roam, and they are able to explore the enormous expanse of possibilities without being constrained by any limits. The spark of inspiration, which is the catalyst for creativity and creation, is found inside the stillness of our own thoughts, which is where we find it. Take into consideration the great visionaries throughout history, such as painters, inventors, and philosophers, who sought comfort in periods of quiet in order to build their own creative potential. Some of the most influential people in history, such as Leonardo da Vinci and Albert Einstein, were aware of the significance of silent contemplation in the process of cultivating the imaginative seeds. It is through the discipline of accepting stillness that we are able to tap into the limitless reservoir of our creative potential, giving birth to ideas that have the ability to alter not just our own lives, but also the world as a whole. There is a portal to the subconscious that is provided by silence. The subconscious is the fertile soil in which our most profound wants and goals take root. When we are able to calm the constant chatter that is going on in our brains and give ourselves permission to remain in the silence of the present moment, we make room for inspiration to blossom. It is during these times of peaceful thought that we are able to establish a connection with our most intrinsic selves, so gaining access to the latent creative wellspring that resides inside each and every one of us. Silence cultivates a feeling of receptivity, which may be defined as the openness to consider new ideas and points of view without passing judgment or having preconceived notions. We are able to become more receptive to the gentle whispers of intuition when there is no noise from the outside world. This allows us to arrive at fresh answers and discoveries. We are able to build a mentality of curiosity and investigation by engaging in the practice of embracing quiet. This allows us to begin on a path of discovery that is limitless in its scope. Daydreaming is a seemingly insignificant pastime that is sometimes disregarded in the midst of the rush and bustle of daily life. Silence encourages us to participate in the art of daydreaming. However, it is inside the domain of daydreams that our imagination is able to take flight, allowing us to transcend the limitations of reality and explore the boundless horizons of potential. Whenever we give ourselves permission to float away into the whirlwind of our own ideas, we open the door to realms that we have never experienced before, places where everything is conceivable and the limits of our imagination are dissolved. The act of cultivating the seeds of imagination is identical with the discipline of embracing stillness, which is a process that takes patience, presence, and a willingness to submit to the unknown. Through the cultivation of a consistent practice of quiet contemplation, we are able to cultivate a profound connection with our creative nature, which in turn enables us to release the full potential of our imagination onto the world. Lesson 3. Become a better listener. Communication is often compared to a symphony of words, which is defined as the interchange of ideas and concepts that is communicated via the use of spoken language. On the other hand, a fundamental reality hides under the surface. Genuine comprehension goes beyond the confines of language. There is a saying attributed to Miyamoto Musashi that goes, "Perceive that which cannot be seen with the eye." The true core of communication may be found in the pauses that occur between words, in the delicate rhythm of feelings that are not expressed verbally. To become a better listener, one must first go on a journey of great empathy and understanding, a trip that is led by the subtle subtleties of silence. It is all too easy to fall into the trap of passive listening amid the noise of daily life, hearing just what we want to hear and filtering out the rest of the information. However, in order to really listen, one must have an open heart and a mind that is receptive. This means that one must be prepared to accept the whole spectrum of human experience, even when it contradicts our preconceived notions. We discover a tremendous appreciation for the art of listening in the teachings of Musashi. This reverence is based on the realization that genuine knowledge is not discovered in the words themselves, but rather in the gaps that have been left between them. When we are working to improve our listening skills, let us take Musashi's advice into consideration and work to develop a more profound awareness of the silent symphony that is taking place in front of us. In order to become a better listener, one of the most important things we need to do is learn how to silence the constant chatter that occurs in our own heads. We enter talks with an onslaught of preconceived assumptions and judgments much too often, and as a result, we drown out the voice of the other person in the process. Nevertheless, it is in the silence of our own being that we discover the space to fully listen. We are able to put aside our own goals and allow the words of others to reverberate inside us. Musashi was aware of the significance of taking the time to calm the mind in order to have a more accurate perception of the world around us. He did not rely just on sheer might in the heat of combat. Rather, he relied on a sharp sense of awareness that enabled him to predict the moves of his opponent before they ever took place. Additionally, in the realm of day-to-day existence, we have the ability to harness the power of quiet in order to become more attentive to the requirements and wishes of individuals who are in our immediate vicinity. In order to improve one's listening skills, it is necessary to be ready to refrain from passing judgment and to approach every conversation with an active heart. All too often, we allow our own preconceived notions and prejudices to influence our views, which causes us to miss the more profound realities that lay under the surface. On the other hand, when we approach talks with an attitude of humility and inquiry, we make room for true connections to grow. The teachings of Musashi place a strong emphasis on the vital role that humility plays in the quest of knowledge. He was aware of the fact that genuine mastery is not achieved by arrogance or self-righteousness, but rather through a readiness to accept the knowledge of others with an open mind and a humble heart. As we work toward being better listeners, let us not forget the lessons of humility that Musashi taught us. Let us approach each conversation with a feeling of respect for the innate dignity and value that is present in every human. In the stillness that comes from careful listening, we come to realize a deep feeling of connection. It is an awareness of our common humanity that is not limited by the limitations of language or culture. We are able to affirm the value and worth of another individual and show respect for the distinctive viewpoint that they add to the fabric of human experience when we listen to them with genuine attention. In this manner, the power of silence transforms into a bridge that brings us together on a journey of mutual understanding and concern for one another. The words of Miyamoto Musashi should be kept in mind as we continue on our journey to become better listeners. He said, "Perceive that which cannot be seen with the eye." Real communication is a sacred dance of empathy and understanding that has the ability to alter our relationships and our lives. Within the stillness that exists between words and the space that exists between breaths is where the essence of real communication may be found. It is my hope that we approach every contact with a sense of respect and humility, and that we embrace the power of quiet to strengthen our ties with one another and to expand our awareness of the world that surrounds us. Lesson 4. Reduce stress. Our physical, mental, and emotional well-being are all being negatively impacted by the ever-present companion that is stress, which has become an ever-present companion in the frantic pace of contemporary life. We are left feeling overburdened and fatigued as a result of the unrelenting pressures that come from our jobs, our families, and the expectations of society. However, in the middle of the mayhem, stillness provides a safe haven, a haven of tranquility in the midst of the storm. It was Miyamoto Musashi, the great warrior, who grasped the tremendous significance of discovering inner serenity among the mayhem that was occurring outside. During one of his conversations, he made the following observation: "There is nothing outside of yourself that can ever enable you to get better, stronger, richer, quicker, or smarter. This is where everything lies." These words contain a timeless truth. The secret to overcoming stress is not in altering our outward circumstances, but rather in creating a feeling of inner peace and resilience. This is the key to overcoming stress. When it comes to our efforts to lessen the effects of stress and build a sense of inner calm, the practices of mindfulness and meditation are very useful tools. It is through the serenity of quiet that we learn to watch our thoughts and feelings without passing judgment on them. We allow them to come and go like ripples on a pond until they are no longer there. When we engage in the practice of mindfulness, we cultivate a heightened awareness of the present moment, which helps us to root ourselves in the here and now rather than ruminating on regrets from the past or worries associated with the future. It has been shown via research that practicing mindfulness on a consistent basis may have significant impacts on both our physical and mental well-being. Mindfulness meditation has been shown to lower levels of the stress hormone cortisol, alleviate symptoms of anxiety and depression, and enhance general emotions of well-being, according to a number of studies. We may train our brains to react to stress with more serenity if we make mindfulness a regular part of our routine. This will enable us to handle the obstacles that life throws at us with grace and fortitude. The potential of mindfulness practice to build a feeling of acceptance and non-resistance toward our experiences is one of the most effective components of this practice. Rather of making an effort to repress or avoid challenging feelings, we learn to welcome them with open arms, acknowledging that pain and suffering are an unavoidable component of the human experience. As Musashi is said to have stated, the true science of martial arts means practicing them in such a way that they will be useful at any time, and to teach them in such a way that they will be useful in all things. To put it another way, the lessons that we acquire when sitting on the meditation cushion are immediately relevant to the difficulties that we encounter in our day-to-day relationships. In addition to the practice of mindfulness meditation, there are a number of additional activities that may assist us in lowering our stress levels and developing peacefulness within ourselves. Obtaining nourishment for the soul and restocking our emotional supplies may be accomplished in a number of effective ways, including spending time in nature, participating in creative endeavors, and connecting with loved ones. It is also possible for physical activity, such as yoga or Tai Chi, to be very beneficial in lowering stress levels and encouraging relaxation. This is because it assists in the release of tension from the body and may help to calm the mind. As a matter of fact, the road toward lowering stress is a very personal one, and the strategies that are effective for one individual may not be effective for another. It is essential to try out a variety of approaches and discover the ones that speak to you based on your own particular preferences. The most important thing is to identify activities that feed your soul and provide you a feeling of inner peace and calm. This may be accomplished by participating in creative expression, practicing mindfulness meditation, or spending time in peaceful introspection. We pray that we never forget the profound insights of Miyamoto Musashi and the transformational power of quiet as we continue on our path through life. May we be able to take shelter in the sanctuary of calm in the midst of the storms that life brings, fostering inner serenity and resilience in the face of chaotic situations. And may we never forget that genuine power is not found in our capacity to exert control over the events that surround us, but rather in our ability to discover and cultivate peacefulness and tranquility inside ourselves. Lesson 5. Strengthen your relationships. It is the deep capacity to communicate not just with words, but also with the unspoken language of presence and understanding that lies at the heart of human connection. The transformational power of silent companionship was recognized by Miyamoto Musashi, who was aware of the fact that the lack of words may often result in the most significant encounters. The practice of developing the skill of quiet presence is arguably more important than it has ever been, in a world that is rife with noise and distractions. Think of a situation in which you and a loved one are sitting together, both of you immersed in your own thoughts, yet you are connected to one another by an unseen thread of connection. A feeling of closeness that goes beyond the need for discussion may be found in the quiet that is shared between the two of them. We genuinely get to know and comprehend one another on a more profound level when we are able to have those moments of silent communion with one another. Within the context of interpersonal interactions, silence has the unique capacity to provide a place for honesty and vulnerability. It is possible for true connection to thrive when we let go of the impulse to fill every minute with speech and instead provide space for it to flourish. We are impelled to communicate by subtle gestures, emotions, and touch when we are unable to use words. This helps to cultivate a strong feeling of closeness and trust between us. Furthermore, silence is a strong weapon that may be used for the treatment of emotional wounds and the settlement of conflicts within partnerships. In the heat of the moment, how often do hurried remarks lead to misconceptions that the other person does not understand? Silence provides a reprieve during times of stress, providing us opportunity to stop, ponder, and respond with clarity and compassion rather than reacting out of anger or irritation if the situation is tense. The cultivation of a more profound feeling of empathy and understanding for other people is facilitated by the acceptance of the power of quiet. When we learn to listen, we learn to listen not just with our ears, but also with our hearts. We learn to actually hear the needs and wishes of people we love that are not voiced. We express our commitment to the well-being of a friend or partner by giving our silent presence as a source of strength and support during the quiet times that we share with them. The cultivation of a feeling of awe and appreciation for the elegance of the environment that surrounds us is facilitated by quiet. How often do we hurry through life, making no effort to appreciate the marvels that are all around us? During times of quiet reflection, we become aware of the depth of the human experience that we all share, such as the soft rustling of leaves in the breeze, the warmth of the sun on our skin, and the peaceful beauty of a night sky filled with stars. We learn to relish these moments of beauty and connection when we cultivate the skill of quiet present. This infuses our connections with a feeling of amazement and thankfulness, which further strengthens our relationships. As time goes on, we come to realize that the most genuine gestures of love and camaraderie often do not need any words at all. Rather, they are just the gift of our full attention and acceptance without conditions. Not the number of words we exchange with one another is what ultimately determines the strength of our relationships. Rather, it is the quality of our presence when we are quiet. Finding peace, understanding, and a strong feeling of belonging are all things that we discover when we are able to spend quiet times with the people we love dear. We are able to strengthen our relationships with other people and weave a web of connections that enhances our lives in ways that cannot be measured. This is accomplished via the practice of embracing quiet. As we navigate the complexities of human interaction, may we always remember the profound wisdom that Miyamoto Musashi imparted to us, that sometimes the greatest gift we can offer to those we love is simply our silent presence. A beacon of warmth and understanding in a world that often feels chaotic and uncertain. May we always remember this. We find the genuine core of what it is to be fully connected when we allow ourselves to be enveloped in quiet. This includes being connected to ourselves, to each other, and to the limitless beauty of the planet that surrounds us. Lesson 6. Gain a new perspective. It is all too easy to get trapped in the limited constraints of our own viewpoint when we are surrounded by the chaos that characterizes our daily lives. The immense expanse of stillness, on the other hand, affords us the opportunity to gain access to a higher vantage point, a vision that is not contaminated by prejudice or judgment. Musashi made the following statement: "The true science of martial arts means practicing them in such a way that they will be useful at any time, and to teach them in such a way that they will be useful in all things." Our horizons are expanded when we engage in the practice of quiet contemplation, which allows us to embrace the variety of thoughts and experiences that contribute to the richness of the human tapestry. The stillness allows us to obtain clarity, which in turn enables us to get insights that shed light on the way ahead with newly discovered knowledge and purpose. The absence of sound, rather than being a blank, serves as a canvas onto which we may create the masterpiece that is our existence. We discover the space to take a step back and study the complexities of our life from a new vantage point when we are in a state of quiet. Stillness provides us with a panoramic perspective of our lives, illuminating hidden patterns, connections, and chances that we miss out on in the rush and bustle of our regular lives. In the same way that a hilltop provides a glimpse of the countryside below, stillness provides us with this opportunity. One of the most significant advantages of quiet is that it has the capacity to break down the walls that keep us from being able to communicate with one another. We are able to transcend the constraints of language and connect with other people on a more profound and fundamental level when we do not have words to express ourselves. According to the insightful observation made by Musashi, perceive that which cannot be seen with the eye. The core of meaningful communication is found in the silence that exists between words. It is represented by the unsaid subtleties that express truths that go beyond the domain of language. When we acquire the skill of listening not just with our ears but also with our hearts, we are able to cement connections of comprehension and empathy that are not limited by the constraints of time and location. Not only does silence have the ability to modify our connection with ourselves, but it also provides us with a mirror in which we may examine the complexities of our own existence. When we engage in the silent process of introspection, we address our anxieties, wants, and insecurities with absolute honesty, which allows us to acquire insight into the inner workings of our own brain. By engaging in the activity of self-reflection, we are able to establish a feeling of self-awareness, which is the basis for our own personal growth and development. According to a popular quote attributed to Musashi, "To know yourself takes a lifetime." When it comes to education, silence is the most valuable teacher. We find the most deep truths about who we are and who we desire to be when we are alone with ourselves and experiencing the serenity of our own existence. We are able to liberate ourselves from the chains of the past and the worries of the future when we are able to embrace the beauty of the present moment, which is made possible by quiet. We find comfort and a break from the unrelenting pressures of the outside world when we are able to find consolation in the tranquility of quiet. Via the cultivation of a feeling of inner serenity that is independent of the fleeting fluctuations of life, we learn to create a sense of mindfulness and meditation via various practices. Musashi made a profound observation when he said, "There is nothing outside of yourself that can ever enable you to get better, stronger, richer, quicker, or smarter." This is where everything lies. The stillness reveals to us that the pursuit of outward pleasures is not the path to genuine happiness. Rather, it is the satisfaction that comes from inside that is the source of real happiness. Through the practice of quiet, we have the chance to develop a more profound appreciation for the beauty of the world that surrounds us. We take comfort in the rustling of leaves, the singing of birds, and the soft caress of the wind when we are unable to communicate verbally. This allows us to become more sensitive to the delicate rhythms of nature. We are able to re-establish our connection to the land and all of its inhabitants by engaging in the practice of quiet communion with nature. This allows us to acknowledge that we are but a little component of a vast and complicated web of life. In addition to the lack of sound, silence is a doorway to a more profound understanding of ourselves, our relationships, and the world that surrounds us. The transforming impact of silence goes well beyond the absence of sound. As we continue on the road of self-discovery and accept the teachings of Miyamoto Musashi, may we never forget the deep knowledge that silence bestows upon us, and may we always embrace the transformational power of silence with open hearts and minds. We discover a timeless witness to the transformational power of quiet in the teachings of Miyamoto Musashi. Quiet is a force that is capable of transcending the limits of time and place, revealing the route to a life that is filled with deep purpose and satisfaction. We are able to uncover previously buried stores of creativity, empathy, and resilience when we engage in the practice of quiet contemplation. This gives us the opportunity to awaken to the depths of our own existence. May we always remember the deep knowledge that Musashi shared with us as we go through life, and may we always embrace the power of quiet as our greatest friend on the road to self-discovery and enlightenment.